Yo, yo.
Brian, how you doing?
Doing good, man.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Cool,
How about
man.
you?
Yeah, no, you're clear as a bell. It's really good for you because
Cool.
yeah, you're on a good matching t-shirts almost.
Sweet.
So
Yeah.
no, thanks so much for doing it, man. It's friggin' awesome. Like, and it doesn't really even need qualifying, but I thought because it's something that you say so much in your videos about, like when you try and approach people, like people are going to see Brian Kennedy on my channel that might not know that I've sponsored you in the past and that we've talked in the past, and they'll be like, "Holy shit, Luke's got Brian on his channel." And Brian's got 85,000 plus, subscribers. I've got like less than 600 subscribers, and I just wanted to mention it because, like, the way I feel about it is that you haven't done this as a favour to me or anything like that, and this is part of the message that you put across in your videos, is that you like to see people. I think there's kind of 2 or 3 rules. One of them is that people need to make the effort for you, don't they? And I think that's a good rule in life. So, like, you hate it, and I always love it when people can't find your email address. It's like, because I feel the same when I see people saying about you, "I can't find your email anywhere." Website, it's just so easy to find, and I think that's one of your things, is that people just have to try.
If you put the barrier up 6 inches off the ground, 90% of people trip over it.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think that's one important one for you, and I think that goes a long way generally for everyone. Probably is that if they see that you're trying, then they've got no problem, like, do it helping you out. But the other thing I think is a bit of sincerity and kind of lack of spamminess. If you've like, so one of the things that I like that you say is that if someone wants to ride with you, or they think they've got something interesting for you to do, stick an itinerary together, have you hit you up on email, and then if you reply and if it's interesting, then you'll do it, and if it's not, then you won't be so interested in it. Like, if it's too spammy, I think that doesn't serve the, a lot of people do that and just want and don't realize that they have to have value for you as well.
Yeah, it's so funny because people email me like, "Come to Scotland." It's like, is that going to get me to come to Scotland? Are you selling me on Scotland right now? Just say, like, okay, yeah, I'm here, I do these rides all the time, there's 5 great rides, we can go here, there's this great restaurant. Like, take 10 seconds to friggin' sell me on your spot. And there's plenty of people who have, and there's plenty of people I've ridden with because of it.
Yeah, and it's that value thing is really important, isn't it? Because, like, you coming on my channel today, the value isn't in the fact that you might get, maybe the 1 subscriber out of my subscriber to be your subscriber. You're not going to get fame, you're not going to get a load of money from me. The value on this one was that I sent you an email and said, "Man, I've really enjoyed your latest video, and I'm absolutely papping myself about going on a guided ride myself. It's something that I'm so afraid of because of the fitness element of things, the technical ability side of things." So that I think that resonated with you, because your mission with one of your big parts of the channel is to get people to ride. And I cannot be the only one that's terrified of these group rides. I refuse to believe it.
Yeah, and I love it. And I've been watching the show, so obviously I'm a fan, so I love what you're doing. So it's all about community. The more we can help each other out, that's what this is about. And there's always different ways that we can help each other out, whether it's an email or whether it's coming on a show.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so guided rides. The thing that terrifies me the most, and the only way that I can think to know how someone else gets on with them, is because I watch so much of your stuff. I've got what feels like a very good understanding of your fitness and technical abilities. So one of the ways, without someone just kind of saying, because it's very easy to just say, "Man, just give it a try. You've got to just give these things a try." And there is that element of it.
Yeah,
absolutely. But it'd be so much like nicer to hear. So the trips that come into mind are obviously the Ben Jones, which the videos have just been awesome. But if we come to that one second, because it's quite clear that one's hard going. So, like, you're chasing epic, like, group ride. That's a guided ride, isn't it? That's not just you taking the boys out.
Correct. That was with Chasing Epic. Steve puts together local guides. There's one in October in Moab, and then I did one a few months ago in St. George.
Yeah. So on a ride, so that ride there looks like it's slightly lower intensity than, like, the Ben Jones stuff that you've just done. Is the Chasing Epic kind of like a good kind of that's kind of a good one to take in as example as like a generic kind of group ride, or is that still quite high level?
I'd say it was still kicking a lot of people's asses for sure, because it's funny with every destination has something different, right? So if you're in Colorado, the trails aren't really highly technical. They're not crazy. They're pretty smooth and they're fast, but then you're at altitude, right? So the altitude's going to kill you. So St. George in Utah was just very techy. It's all these little ups and downs, much like Moab, where it's like just all this technical stuff that most of the guys had never seen before. They'd never experienced it before. So it was just very odd, this stop and start and this come and go. And the one thing that's great about Chasing Epic, though, Steve sets out a training plan. He's like, okay, you're signed up. Here is a 4-month, 5-month, I forget how many month training plan that he sets up and says, hey, if you can get in this shape, if you can do this, you're going to be ready. And really you're so right about just getting up the balls to go on the trip, because it's a mental game that we play, right? Like when I've got a ride coming up on Monday with a couple guys that are complete shredders, and we're going to do like a 30-mile, 5,000 feet of climbing ride, and I'm intimidated, right? I'm like, oh God, am I going to hold these guys back? It's never going to end. The most fit guy in the world friggin' hates it. He thinks he's out of shape. Everybody thinks they're out of shape. Yeah. But you have to be self-aware enough to not kid yourself. So I'm sure there's a couple psychopaths out there where they're like, yeah, I'm great, I'm in shape, I can handle that, and then they come on a trip like the Ben Jones trip and just get their ass handed to them. So and I don't have all the answers, I really don't. So it's tough, where you've just got to put in the work. If you're not riding 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and you want to go on one of these trips, you're gonna be the last person. But the last person has fun too. I mean, if you can take the punishment and pain of everyone sitting there waiting for you, and you puking on the side of the trail, and all the great stuff that comes along with that, you being out of water almost immediately because your body can't handle it. I don't know how the guides do it. I honestly would not want to be a guide. I would never want to be a guide. I would never want someone to pay this money and them to show up and be like, holy shit, you can't do this. How are we going to do this? You overestimated your abilities. So thinking back to some of the trips that I've done, really the Basque MTB trip had the least amount of climbing and a ton of technical hard stuff. So the technical stuff, it's crazy. Like that's the funny thing too, is like you could get to the top of the hill. So on the Ben Jones trip, I'd say I was probably the 6th fittest guy on the trip, but I was the 2nd fastest guy on the trip. So on the downhills, like Bruno was better than me in most stuff. Then some stuff I could get Bruno, but really like those guys were quite fit going uphill all the time. But then if you're not that great at the technical downhill, you're going to hate it. You're going to suffer the entire time because you're going to have to get off. You're going to have to walk. And then it's like, oh, my feet hurt. I'm walking so much. So it really is crazy. So that's why I really hope that my videos give some kind of semblance to like, hopefully it doesn't make it look too easy. And
no, it doesn't at all.
Good. That's the point, is like, oh man, could I actually do this? And hopefully there's somewhere in your local trails where there's some beast. There's some, something that you're afraid of and that you need to conquer first, some hill that you could be like, okay, it takes me 7 minutes to get up this hill. If I could do it in 5 minutes, that would be badass. So really like those Strava is really like the key tool for me, because I can work my way into like top 100s of segments that tons of people have done. I'm feeling pretty elite, like when I can handle that.
So you touched on it there a little bit there. When you're on one of these guided groups, then I picture it as being, so like you said, you were the 2nd fastest guy and you ended out 2nd in line to Bruno. So the way that they work it, or the way that the pecking order works out, is that it goes fastest to slowest.
Yes.
And then so what you said just now, is that like a real thing? Because this can serve two purposes really. I wouldn't want to scare anyone out of going on a guided trip, but at the same time, it would fucking suck to be in the position where like you're that guy at the back, So that's a real thing, is it? When you go on these trips, being one of the guys that's fitter and at the front, is there guys that are way back holding you guys up on like trips like the Ben Jones, where you are looking at them and just thinking, oh man, that just sucks? Or you don't have to say like a specific trip, but where like being you in the position that you're in, where you're quite far up in the pack, you're looking back at them and thinking, oh man, we're being held up too long. And then also putting yourself in their position and just thinking, I would just hate to be that dude because it sucks. Like I would feel.
It does happen. It does happen. But here's the thing is, there's always like technicals and there's always mechanicals. So it's like if you're getting all agitated about someone being slow and then you get a flat tire or your brakes aren't put on right and then you're holding up the entire group, like everyone's turn comes around as long as you bring decent bikes. When I went on that Basque MTB trip, everyone's bike except for mine blew up at some point.
Yeah.
And it was just like, come on, people. And then this trip, the Ben Jones trip, everybody's bike was rock solid except for the one person that wasn't running Maxxis tires. So like just bring your bike in good condition. Like we all had badass bikes. Everyone in the Ben Jones trip was in damn good shape. Like that was like the technical downhill stuff is fine. Like you can wait 30 seconds for people. Like really that's all it ever ends up being is like a minute, 2 minutes. Like big deal. You're coming off this great high because you just came down this friggin' crazy trail for the downhills. But if there's a ton of uphill, I could see it being bad. And that's where Basque MTB, not that much uphill. We had the first day, they kind of have a qualifier to make sure like, okay, what are you guys made of? And then after that, we climbed here and there. Ben Jones, shitload of climbing. There was a lot, and it was real hardcore riding. So take that as you will.
That's where the gaps can open up, isn't it? If you're climbing for 15 minutes, half an hour, then the gaps can be, you know, the amount of time it took you to climb times 2, can't it? Whereas, like say, on a downhill, the gaps don't open up quite so much because it's a bit shorter and snappy. And the bottom of it is high five time anyway, isn't it, for you Americans? So
exactly. And really, honestly, the only time I get frustrated on a group ride is when the person in front of you is slow. So if the pecking order, like the first day, the first couple trails, like you'll see like on my very first video when we hit that granite on the Ben Jones trip, I'm like the last person because I was getting my camera sorted out. Very quickly, I started passing everyone because that's just how the pecking order starts to sort out. You start to kind of get in the groove, and luckily I can always stay ahead of everyone. And you know, people are always trying, you know, you're always trying to get a little bit better position and stuff. And it kind of has to always figure itself out.
Yeah, that strikes me actually as being one of the most, one of the things that I've ridden a few times with people in the UK, but most of my riding has been as like a solo rider because I used to work away and I never used to be able to link up with my mates because they'd be away while I was at home and stuff. So I found it quite difficult. But one of the things that really jumps out to me about a group ride and more specifically like guided riding is that do you find it much easier? So when you're riding with a guide that knows the trail, do you find it much easier to push a little bit and go a little bit faster because of the fact that you're following a guy's lines? And and does that keep the whole pack a little bit tighter because of the fact that it's much easier to follow than it is to be the person in front?
So only the first couple guys benefit from the guide because every trip that I've been on, I've been up on the guide, like following every line, just totally. But then that benefit gets lost very, very quickly because the next person back just has one bad thing and then boom, you're all of a sudden you're 20 seconds back. So it's like if you can keep on the guide and keep on it, you're gonna do fine. But then that only the top people can really benefit from that. And I love it. I love following the guides. I love chasing them down, and I feel like I've done pretty good where they've only been able to get on me because of fitness, not so much because of the riding, until I crash, of course.
Until you crash, yeah. So until the pecking order gets sorted out, because that's quite interesting. So the behind the guide or behind the dude that's almost a pro mountain biker behind the guide, like. To get that kind of prime position, is that just like the pecking order sorting itself out relatively quickly, or are you literally going, I'm fucking riding behind the guide because that's it's just the bolshiest dude?
Yeah, no, it sorts itself out because if I'm sure there are people that are all friggin' testosterone and think that they can ride, but that gets sorted out pretty quick when it's like, hey man, I'm up your ass right now. Hey, or you are able to pass them because they had to stop, and that kind of I try to be very low key in my abilities on the first day and just like, okay. But it starts to be like, okay, sweet, I can get past this guy. Okay, he's not up my ass, so okay, we're good. Okay, past the next guy, he's not my ass, we're good. So you have to be a little patient on those first bits and pieces.
Well, the one thing, because I noticed on the Ben Jones website that I mean, that's like that's a holiday as much as it is like a riding experience, isn't it? That's like full on. So the prices of these things, like Ben Jones, I guess, is one of the higher level ones that I've seen in terms of price, as well as all of what you get with it. I mean, when you go and do these things, are you ever you're never disappointed by the outlay versus what you get out of it? You know, is there good and bad companies to go with?
There's always good and bad. Like, really, the riding on the Ben Jones was top notch, best riding I've ever done. But the food was kind of like, we're in France and everything's bread. You know, I do gluten free, so like the one morning where we had eggs. Everyone, like, as they came in for breakfast, was like, eggs! Oh! Like, everyone was, like, kind of freaking out because we just had, like, you know, toast here and this little slice of this here. But that's just, it all comes with it, right? Because Ben wants the riding to be the best. And so, okay, we have to stay at this hotel in this area. And that's what this hotel in this area serves. And that's what it is, right? So I didn't get too bent out of shape about that. But the food in Spain on the Basque MTB was unreal every single day. And food does, for a hungry mountain biker that's doing 30 miles a day, food does tip the balance on being like, ooh, this makes a difference.
Yeah, no, I can see that Ben Jones, though, like you say, if you wander too far from the path that you guys were on, then that's no good, is it? So, and that's kind of good in a way as well. Like you say, you need the calories, you need to eat the right thing so as you're good for the next day on a trip like that. But at the same time, if you're riding through a place like that and it's is in the middle of nowhere like that, you're going to end out living like a Frenchman for a couple of days, aren't you?
Exactly. And you would see in these videos, we're passing these like refuges that have like full service restaurants in them. Well, not full service restaurant, but you know what I mean? Like, there's coffee and there's crepes and it's like we're out in the middle of nowhere and there's these places where you can get stuff. So if you're into coffee, if you're into, you know, croissants and pastries, every friggin' 10 miles we hit a spot. But my diet doesn't quite go along with that. So I had to pack as much as I could.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So what I'm sat here thinking about, like for myself, what it is, how I feel about like the guided riding stuff now. And I think the best thing to do, like you said with did you say Basque MTB gave you like an itinerary or a fitness level to try and hit beforehand? Chasing Epic had the itinerary and the fitness and really, yeah, it really is the toughest part, right? I mean, you don't want to just sit on the sidelines and not do a trip like this because you have self-doubt. But you can't be delusional. So where is that middle ground? And I have no answers, which kind of sucks, but just get decently fit. And whatever that measure is of what's decently fit, you can do it. It's got to be it must be worth giving, like, I think what I'll probably do is give the guy that's local to my area a quick call and just say, or an email and say, have you got some kind of rough guidelines? Like, I think they'd appreciate it if you emailed and say, look, dude, I don't want to hold your whole trip up. Can you give me a rough idea of what I need to be able to do on a mountain bike to be able to come and properly enjoy your thing? I would imagine that a guiding company would appreciate that and be quite responsive to a question like that. I would hope so too. Yeah, that's probably what I would take from it. Like I say, don't be delusional. Don't be afraid of it, but also try and do a bit of homework, contact them beforehand, and then give it a go. Yeah, that's about all I wanted to get from you, really, Brian. There's not loads of questions and stuff like that. It was just really I wanted to put my mind at rest about guiding, and I'm even more shit scared now than I was when we started. So no, I'm not. It's just it's good to hear it from someone because, like you say, I am that dude. Because I ride solo a lot, I don't push myself as hard as I could if I was riding with other people a lot of the time, and what it means is I'll be throwing bananas up in the hedge all the time until I get to a certain level. So it's worth it. And that really is the game changer, is when you start riding with legit dudes. Yeah. It doesn't have to be on a guided trip. It can just be your local guy and like, hey, you guys know anybody that's really fast? And you ride with them a couple times and you're like,
okay, now I can figure out what level I'm at. And then you try to ride with them some more and see if you can catch them or see if you learn something through osmosis.
Cool. All right, Brian, thanks a lot, mate. That's it, I think.
Hey, thanks for having me, Luke.
Speak to you soon.
Rock and roll.